Now, even as the blame game over the hospital blasts is continuing, the IDF has been shoring up its attack against Israel. Now, the IDF has attacked targets of the terrorist organization Hezbollah in the border area with Lebanon. Among the targets was an observation post towards the sea that was attacked from where anti-tank fire was launched at Rosh Ankara yesterday. The attacks were carried out in response to incidents of shooting in Israel. Now, the Israeli armed forces, of course, have continuously been releasing footage of the attacks that they have carried out in terms of aerial bombardments, either in the Gaza Strip or now towards Lebanon, rather South Lebanon, the area that's largely controlled by the Hezbollah. What we are given to understand also is that the IDF is continuing with its targeted strikes to take down terrorist infrastructure in both parts, even as there has been talk of a ground invasion by the Israeli troops. Now, the US President Joe Biden, of course, met Israeli leaders yesterday, and one of the things that has come off it, at least some positive movement, is that Israel has said it will allow for humanitarian aid to flow into Gaza through Egypt.
I find it worrying and I find it sad that so many distinguished, respectable media institutions in the world were so fast and so trigger happy to report what Hamas was saying and didn't wait for confirmation. Didn't wait to publish numbers that they claimed, which up until today have not been verified or proved, and were, how should we say it, very skeptical when we presented information and evidence. And what I've seen in tweets all day is that such and such media network were not able to independently verify what we are claiming. I don't know that they've verified what Hamas is claiming. And I find it very odd and absurd that we are held in parity with Hamas, a terrorist organization that lies, manipulates, murders, abducts, rapes, and does all of the worst atrocities. And our word is worth as much as Hamas. I find it absurd, and I think that if there are true professionals in the media, in these organizations and others, there should be hard conversations in the newsrooms about how this happened and how Hamas could spin a non-issue into something that affected the entire region, with riots going on in many places of the Middle East as a result.
Now, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has met with members of the war cabinet in Tel Aviv. They met following President Joe Biden's visit, in which he vowed that the U.S. will not stand by and do nothing again as Israel responds to the recent attack by the Hamas. Do remember that the meeting was between the Israeli top ministers and the U.S. President was being seen as crucial, because it is where that Israel has presented proof to suggest that the hospital bomb blast actually was work of the Hamas's affiliate. It was a rocket attack that had gone wrong. And also, of course, US President Joe Biden largely was in Israel to show support to Israel, even as he wanted to see clear plans in terms of how Israel wants to go into the Gaza Strip to minimize civilian casualties. The president's visit, of course, was marred by the blast in the hospital and did, in a sense, derail the talks that were likely to happen between him and the Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, as well as the King of Jordan. All of that was derailed right after the bomb that fell on the hospital, killing about 500 people. But what we are given to understand is that post the visit of US President Joe Biden, there has been a meeting of the war cabinet. Now, we don't know what went on in that meeting. Obviously, the US may have told them that they do have their support. However, it will be very critical to minimize civilian casualties, and that has been the stand of most of the Western nations who have said that they do stand by Israel and they do believe that Israel has the right to defend itself, but also casualties of civilians should be minimum. Now, so far within the Gaza Strip, that's not been the case. Case in point, of course, was the bombing that happened at the hospital in which nearly 500 people were killed and several were injured.